Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. So for today's video, I'm going to be doing a comparison between three of the most popular and classic mini bags from Chanel. So of course we have the mini rectangular, can't forget this bag in such a video. And then there is also the mini 2.55, or lots of people refer to this as the mini reissue. And then the last one in this comparison is the mini with handle. So I'm going to cover everything about these three bags. I'm going to show you guys what fits, mod shots, pros and cons of each, and which one you might want to pick for yourself. So I hope you guys enjoy this video, and let's get into it. So let's start with the mini rectangular, which surprisingly, even though this is probably the most popular and sought after mini bag in today's video, this is the last style that I added to my collection, and my specific one is in tweed. So the tweed versions cost $400 less than their typical leather mini rectangular. So typically they are available in lambskin, and currently the price of a lambskin mini rectangular is $4,900 US. So the tweed ones would be $4,500, and the dimensions according to Chanel's website of this bag is 4.7 inches by 7.8 inches by 2.3 inches. And all of the mini bags in today's video have a very similar setup to them. They all have a single flap. On the back, you have this back pocket, and when you open it on the inside, it's one main compartment with two pockets at the back. One of the pockets is open and the other one has a zipper. Now, what's different between the mini rectangular style compared to the other two in this video is that you get this leather and chain shoulder strap that is a little bit wider than the one on the mini with handle. I'll show on the screen like a comparison between the three straps on these bags, and you do have the two grommets on top that the chain loops through. Now, one of the biggest cons about this bag only having the two grommets on top is you can't easily adjust the length of the chain. So by default, you can only wear it as kind of like a longer shoulder bag or as a crossbody bag. There's no easy way to double the chain like you would on the classic flap, for example. But you could play around with this so that you can get it to two different lengths on top of the default one, and you don't need any extra tools or whatnot to adjust the chain to either of these two configurations. So let me quickly show you guys the two that I'm talking about. So for the first one, you pull the chain through entirely on the outside of the bag, and then you wrap the chain, you cross it, and then you wrap it around the inside of the flap. And then when you close the bag up, you basically have this double chain situation right here, and this turns it into like a shorter shoulder bag. And the other way is to pull the chain completely through on the inside of the bag instead. And then when you have the entire chain on the inside, the side that is kind of like loose with the chain hanging, you cross it over to the other side of the bag, and then you just close up the flap. And then this is like a slightly longer shoulder bag, but it's significantly shorter than if you were to just use it in the default length, which is just way too long for me to wear on one shoulder. So this is what this looks like about the length of this, and I am 5'4". I'll also show mod shots later on in this video having all three of these bags worn at the same time. So these two configurations are very easy to just change around and choose the one you want without having any extra tools. But what I actually like doing is I like to use this kind of like little adjuster tool that I actually got this for free from my sales associate at Chanel, but I'll also leave a link to this type of item on Amazon if you're not able to get it from like a Chanel boutique for whatever reason. So this allows you to basically adjust the strap to any configuration you want to, any length you want to. So typically what I do is I probably shorten it by a grand total of, I want to say like 4 to 5 inches. And what I like about that is that I think that is the perfect length for me to wear just over one shoulder. And this is basically what I typically do. I just kind of have that hooked on the inside of the bag. It doesn't take up much space at all. So then when I wear it, it's slightly longer. It's right around, I would say, like the higher end of my hip is. So I really like how this looks as far as length. So yeah, that's how I usually use this bag. Now I would say that it might just be me being unlucky, but I've had the most problems regarding quality issues with the mini rectangular. So I think the most glaring issue to me personally is that I find that the chains on the mini rectangulars get like kinked up really easily. So basically this chain is made up of like a bunch of different links. So when they're all joined together, like when they kind of align properly, then the chain is fine. But I find that on the mini rectangulars, there's a tendency for the links to kind of like wiggle out of their perfect spots. And when that happens, then the leather gets all twisted too. And then you'll just find like this little kind of like bend in the chain. And yeah, it's not that hard to fix, but it is kind of annoying whenever you come across it. Now, this bag doesn't have that issue super often, but there were two that I had purchased previously that definitely showed that problem a lot more often. Now, that wasn't the only reason that I returned both of those bags, but definitely that was a problem that I noticed was quite common on these mini rectangulars. And I really think that the reason behind that is that the length of the leather that is woven through the chain of these mini rectangulars is just a little bit too long compared to the length of the chain. So there's like kind of like loose leather in there that makes it really easy to get like tangled up in a way. So just keep that in mind. Definitely try it on if you can. Make sure when you pick up the bag, it doesn't show like 5+ kinks on the chain, because that has happened to one of the ones that I purchased previously. If you want to see more photos on what that looks like, I'll leave a video up here where I talked about quality issues that I've had with Chanel, and that specific bag with that issue with the chain is talked about in that video. So that is the major issue that I have with these bags. My other kind of complaint about this bag is that personally I find that these mini rectangulars are quite unstructured in the sense that they're a lot softer than any of the other Chanel bags that I own, even compared to the mini with handle, which is basically the mini rectangular with a handle on top. That bag feels a lot stiffer in a good way, like structured, and you can't really like squeeze it easily. I understand that this is a tweed version, so it's of course not going to be as stiff, I guess, as leather is, but even like I mentioned, the two that I had to return for quality issues, even those did feel a little bit softer too. And for me personally, I just want my bags to have a little bit more structure to them, so that's kind of like a personal preference, but it might be totally different for you. Now, I think the best thing about the mini rectangular is that it transitions very well from being a daytime bag that is a little bit more casual to a bag that is appropriate for more nighttime occasions. I do like how this bag is in a way more versatile and kind of easier to wear than the classic flaps, which have a much more kind of like proper look to them. And of course, lots of people love the mini rectangular in the lambskin in leather. But for me personally, I think that where it shines is really in tweed, because, you know, Chanel is known for their tweed, and yes, they make a bunch of bags in tweed, but I feel like getting the mini rectangular in tweed is kind of like the best bang for your buck, so you don't have to spend classic flap money for a tweed bag, and it still does have that classic look to it at the same time. I feel like Chanel releases tweed mini rectangulars at least every other season. I think maybe even like every season they might release tweed mini rectangulars. So there definitely are a lot of options for you to pick one if you want a tweed mini rectangular. But I will end this section of the video by saying that the mini rectangular is probably my least favorite of the three. It's not that I don't like it, it's just that I like the other ones more. And next up is the mini 2.55 reissue, which is the same exact price as the mini rectangular, so $4,900 US currently. It's 6 inches by 7.8 inches by 2.3 inches. Now this bag has the 4 grommets on top, so it's basically like their larger 2.55 bags and like the classic flaps. So it has the 4 grommets on top, and then it has the chain that is just like purely a metal chain. There's no leather in it whatsoever, and I love that these grommets allow for you to basically change the length of the chain as you wish. It's so easy and it slides along so smoothly. It's just so easy to change, and whenever I use this bag, I'm always switching back and forth. It's the perfect length as a crossbody bag. It's the perfect length as a shoulder bag. I do think it is a little bit too long when you just have like a single strap as a shoulder bag, but that's always the case with any bag. If it's the right length crossbody, then it's not going to be the right length just over one shoulder unless it has an adjustable strap. So I really love this bag, but I have to say, you have to like the look of the reissue to want to buy this bag, because a lot of people think of like the classic flap with the quilt and the CC logo is more classic Chanel, and you just don't get that on this. But I do love how this is very understated because it doesn't have that logo, and in this age of the whole quiet luxury trend, maybe this is the better way to go. And also you have to like the look of the aged calfskin that they use on the reissues. So for me personally, I actually think the more wrinkled, the better it looks on the mini reissues, but it's definitely something that is down to preference. It is the complete opposite from that really puffy quilted lambskin look that you get on the leather mini rectangulars. So yeah, this is just something that you have to like the look of to go for this bag. And I would say that generally speaking, the bag also feels a little bit thinner too, because it doesn't have that like puffy aspect to the quilt. But I think the biggest con about this bag is because it has the 4 grommets on top and it's only a single flap, unlike the classic flap, for example, or the larger 2.55 reissue bags. Those that have the double flap give the top of the bag a little bit more added structure, but because this one only has the single flap, I find that as I'm wearing it, the top of the flap kind of gets a little bit pointy, but when I store it away and I stuff it properly, it's not pointy permanently. So I don't see that as like a large glaring issue yet. Maybe in the future, like after a lot more wear, then that might be like a permanent crease that's on there. But currently right now there is no such crease, no such lasting mark on there. Unlike with all of these flap bags, you're going to get a crease on the back of the bag where the flap opens. So this bag does have that crease on it. It's not visible on my tweed mini rectangular because it is fabric. But the great thing about this aged calfskin is that yes, you have this line going across, but it almost looks like it was meant to be there. It's just part of the leather. So yeah, I think that is a great thing about the aged calfskin. It doesn't show wear and tear that easily. Like if you were to scratch it, unless you know, like really take color off of the leather, it just looks like it's part of the creases, you know? It's really carefree, and I really love that about this. But I would say that even though this bag can also transition from daytime use to nighttime use, I would say that this is more of a daytime appropriate bag. That's actually when I use this bag the most. I would say that unless you have, for example, the black mini reissue with the aged gold hardware, then that definitely has more of like a dressy nighttime look to it. But even this one, which is in kind of like a off-white color with the aged gold hardware, I think this is more of a daytime bag. But yeah, I really do love this bag. This is actually my favorite of the 3 styles, which is why I have 3 mini reissues in my collection currently. And finally, we have the mini with handle right here. So the dimensions of this bag are the exact same as the mini rectangular if you don't include the handle in the measurements. So it's 4.7 inches by 7.8 inches by 2.3 inches. And because there is this added handle feature, Chanel does charge an extra $500 more than the mini rectangular. So this currently retails for $5,400 US. And honestly, paying an extra $500 for this little bit of leather on the handle, it's not really the best value, but I really do love this style of bag. So of course, what's different about this bag is you do get this top handle, and you can really only carry this by hand through the top handle. Yes, my hand fits completely through the little hole in there, but it's a very tight fit, and you can't really carry this bag comfortably on your wrist or higher up on your arm. So if you want to use the top handle, it really is just hand carry, but it does also come with a shoulder strap. So the difference is that the shoulder strap is attached where the handle is, and it's not detachable. So you see how I just pulled it out of the bag. If I'm not planning on using the shoulder strap, I just leave it inside the bag. That's how I use this bag probably like 95% of the time. I just have it at the bottom, so you know I have all my other stuff inside the bag, and this doesn't really get in the way. It's kind of just out of sight. But even if you wanted to leave the strap dangling on the outside of the bag so you can easily switch from handheld to shoulder carry, I think this chain actually looks really nice. So similar to the chain on the mini rectangular, this is also a mix of metal as well as leather, but this chain is actually thinner, and that makes it more delicate looking, which I think perfectly suits the style of top handle bag. And because it is thinner and more delicate looking, I also think it looks shinier too. So I'm a big fan of this thinner chain. Now this chain, as I mentioned, is not detachable, and it's also not adjustable either. But similarly to what I showed you with the mini rectangular, you can kind of DIY something to shorten it without any extra tools. So you just cross the chain through the inside of the bag, and then it makes it into kind of like a shoulder carry bag like this. So you definitely have this option, but because the chain is attached on the outside of the bag, there's no grommets or anything. Even if you had that tool that I mentioned earlier, it doesn't really help. But I feel like, you know, people who buy this bag probably want to have that top handle feature, and not necessarily have like a shoulder bag, like a shorter shoulder bag. And this is probably the most structured of the 3 bags in this video. Like, it just feels very well made to me. I like how the sides don't really pop out. That's another thing with the mini rectangular, is that sometimes the sides do kind of like pop out a little bit, and I haven't seen a single mini with handle that has that issue. I just like how this bag is structured. I think it just fits that kind of top handle look. Like, there's a certain look to top handle bags, and I think how Chanel designed this mini with handle really achieves that look very well. And I would say that similar to other mini bags that also have a top handle, this definitely does look like a dressier bag. I mainly use this for dates, whether it's like daytime dates or nighttime dates. But this isn't one that I would really use in like a super casual setting. And I think what is really unique about this specific bag is that Chanel has been making these mini with handles in these kind of like two-tone colorways, and I think they're so stunning. So they do have like single color mini with handles, like the one that I own now, but they've been releasing a bunch where the underside of the handle, one side of the strap, as well as the entire inside of the bag is a different color, from the top of the handle, the second side of the strap, and the outside of the bag. And sometimes they're in like contrasting colors, sometimes they're in like similar like color schemes, like it'll just be a darker and lighter shade of pink or blue, for example, but they all look so amazing. I think that the color combos really work so well. So I think that if you're looking for something a little bit more unique, a little bit specific to the mini whip handle, then those are the ones to look out for if that is something you're interested in. So since all of these bags are pretty much the same size, they essentially have the same capacity in them. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you guys first what fits in this mini rectangular. I currently have it packed full right now, and then I'm going to take out those items and just quickly put them in the mini reissue as well as the mini whip handle, just to show you guys that it does in fact fit, and basically for completeness sake. So I'm starting with the mini rectangular because it's not so much that it has less capacity, but there is one specific feature about this bag that, depending on how careful you are about maintaining your bag and keeping it pristine, you might not want to pack quite as much in there. So here inside, I do have all of my items in here. And the thing is, because of how this strap attaches to the bag, it basically is attached from the side profile of the bag, and then it loops through kind of like the top through these two grommets. These parts of the strap are kind of a little bit lower on the inside of the bag, and if you see right here, I have, this is my hand sanitizer bottle, and then over here I have my small kirigami. They are sitting a little bit higher in the bag, so this part of the strap does kind of rest against those two items a little bit, more so on the small kirigami and not quite as much on my hand sanitizer bottle. So because this is a white leather on the chain strap, I am a little bit more careful about it. Maybe if you had like the black lamb skin, then it wouldn't be so much of a concern, or maybe if, you know, this part of the strap is always going to be inside of the bag, so it's not the worst thing in the world if there's a little bit of wear and tear on it, but just wanted to mention because that is kind of like, you know, might be a little bit of a con for you guys. So right here I have my small kirigami. It currently has my keys in it. And then, as I mentioned, I have my hand sanitizer bottle here. I have a tube of lipstick. And then I have a pack of tissues. I have, this is like a little Jo Malone travel size perfume bottle. I have my phone. And then here is a mirror. And then the last thing in here is my card holder. So this is basically everything that fits inside this bag. For this video, I'm actually going to show you guys what fits in all of these bags with the chains completely outside of the bag. If you keep your chain inside your bag, it does take away just a tiny little bit of space, but honestly, it's not very noticeable whatsoever. So this bag also has the chain strap that is kind of like at the top of the bag over here. Here, this is a better way to show you guys, but this doesn't really cut into the capacity of the bag like the mini rectangular does. So I'm just going to quickly pack all of the stuff in here in the same manner. I'm trying to hurry a little bit, so this is not exactly as neat as I might do it when I usually have the bag, but yes, everything does in fact fit in here. Let me just close it to show you guys. Not a problem whatsoever. And then lastly is the mini whip handle, and this chain strap is completely outside of the bag, so it doesn't cut into the capacity inside whatsoever. So similarly to the other two bags, I'm just going to quickly put everything inside for you guys. and that is what it looks like in here also. So I would say that all three of these bags actually have a good amount of capacity in them. So if you're someone that doesn't carry a whole lot in your bags and you're used to using mini size bags, I don't think you'll have a problem with the capacity of any of these bags. So for the mod shots, I'm going to show you guys what each of these bags look like worn 3 different ways. So first is as a longer shoulder bag, and I am 5'4" for reference, and my waist is here, and then my hips are down here. And in my opinion, I feel like all 3 of these bags are just sitting way too low for my liking. They're all kind of significantly under my hips in my opinion, and for one, I don't think it looks the greatest, and I also don't think it's the most comfortable wearing it like this either. The mini reissue is just maybe like half an inch to an inch max higher than the other 2, but I still think that is a little bit too low for my liking. So I never wear any of these 3 bags as a longer shoulder bag in their default strap length. And here's what all 3 bags look like when worn crossbody. So I definitely think that all 3 of these are sitting at a much better height on me crossbody. I love wearing the mini reissue crossbody because it is so comfortable at this length. But the other 2, even though they're just like a tiny bit longer, I also find that these are good lengths too. But honestly, this mini whip handle, I never wear this as a crossbody bag, and for the mini rectangular, I tend to just shorten it by a little bit too to wear as a shoulder bag. But I think these are great options to go for if you're wearing it as a crossbody bag and if you're a similar height to me. And lastly, here's what the 3 bags look like worn as a shorter shoulder bag. So with the mini reissue, it already has the 4 grommets, so it's really easy just to pull the chain through and have 2 equal length chains to wear as a shoulder bag. But then for the mini whip handle as well as the mini rectangular, I did have to fiddle with the chains a little bit to get them to this length. But as I mentioned, no extra equipment is necessary. And with the mini whip handle, this is still a great length so that the handle is not digging into your underarm, and the mini rectangular is a little bit higher than the other 2, but this is still an okay length. Between all 3 of them, the mini reissue does sit the lowest, and then the mini whip handle is just a little bit higher, and then the mini rectangular is, I would say, significantly higher than the other 2, but I think all 3 bags work when worn like this. So that is it for this comparison between these 3 mini bags from Chanel, and I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope it was helpful for you guys, it was informative, and if you guys liked this video, please do give it a thumbs up, and let me know in the comments down below which of these 3 mini bags is your personal favorite, and if you have any questions about any of these 3 bags that I haven't answered in this video, let me know in the comments down below, and I'll definitely get back to you guys. And if you haven't already subscribed to my channel, please do consider subscribing for new videos every single week on luxury and fashion, and I'll leave 2 videos on the screen for you to watch next, so I'll see you very soon. Bye for now!